Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio, and today we need to talk about Prismatic Evolutions again. We're going to be doing checkups in on this set, what the price is doing and all of that, semi-regularly between now and when things calm down, frankly. Because where we are at the moment, and this is weird to me, we're not looking at the EVs today. We looked at the EVs before. That's not the point today. We talked about them before. Essentially, some of them are going up, some of them are going down. They are meeting in the middle and figuring out where that middle is. We talked about this the other day. We don't need to go over that again. What we do need to talk about, however, is what's going on with the other special illustration rares. Because as a general rule, they are all going up. All of them are going up. Every single one is going up. As long as they're not called Ogerpon. Because here's what is truly bizarre. Like, take a look at Teal Mask Ogerpon here. Started up at like $60, fell down to 35, and it's basically still there. And you can maybe argue it's going up or down a tiny bit based on the whatever week it. No. It's basically gone down to like $35, $37 and stayed there. That's bizarre. Because remember, this is a phenomenally playable card. We're not talking about some borderline EX that sees a little bit of play here and there. No. This is a redonkulous card. Now, some of you are going to look at this and go, wassy. You're kind of right, all right? But Raging Bolt has fallen off a little bit. And there's an argument it's better with something like Bellibolt anyway. And Regidrago V Star is rotating out. Maybe that card has been good up to now, but it's finally come to the point where that card isn't as good as it used to be. Okay. I will grant you that rotation makes this card not as good as it was. So maybe there's an argument that this isn't spiking up like the others because rotation's hurting the playability of this card. Well, what about Wellspring Mask Ogerpon? Because you know what's happening to that card with the rotation? It's getting a million times better. It's part of the best deck over in Japan right now. That card is legit post-rotation. And yet, that one ain't going up now, is it? No, it is not. Started off at about $45, fell down to just about 25, and we stay there. And I'm sure at some point it'll start going up or down or something, but right now it is just sticking there, and that's what's weird about the Ogerpon. All four of the Ogerpon are doing this. Half Flame Mask Ogerpon started at like 50s, come down to about 30 and just stayed there. This one is frankly far less playable. I've seen it pop up in decks, but this is the least good of the Ogerpon, and I don't think that's a particularly controversial statement. I'm sorry. But then we can have a look at Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon, which is another very playable card that remains very playable post-rotation, and yet that one fell down from like $60 down to about 30 and stayed there. And what's really weird to me, I know it's going up a tiny bit at the end, but not very much at all. And what's really weird to me, it's literally only Ogerpon that are doing this. Like, Ogerpon are the exception, and that's literally it. All the other cards are going up, and we'll go through a bunch of examples in a minute, but the Ogerpon aren't going up, despite the fact that 3 of them are incredibly playable. Sorry, Half Flame Mask Ogerpon. And that is bizarre to me. Why don't people want... is it the artwork? Because I happen to think the artwork is spectacular. This is weird to me. Because if we have a look at basically any other special illustration rare, they're all going up. I mean, if we look at the big one, Cerulege started off as like 150, 160. It's now sitting up there at 240. Cerulege has become an absolute beast. It is the #1 non-evolution special illustration rare. Again, we can't look at them. They're doing their own thing, to put it bluntly. So we're not talking about them today because they're off having their own party off to the side. and that's okay. But then we've got things like Roaring Moon. Sure, that went from 220 down to 170, but guess what? It's gone back up to like 240 now. So yes, absolutely we can sit there and go, well, it fell down. It did. Hadn't stayed there though, has it? No. No, it hasn't. That one has shot back up like pretty much all the rest of them. Dragapult, this one, and this is one of those ones, when you ever see a graph like this, that generally means it was incorrectly priced at the beginning. I'm not really sure this was ever actually a $40, $45 card. I think we just had a little bit of an anomaly in the data, so to speak, and then it's kind of gone up to its rightful place at $180. This is a very, very expensive card. One of the other big ones we've got here, the aforementioned Raging Bolt, gone up to $145. And then here's what's the weird thing for me about Raging Bolt, right? I told you that you could make an argument that Teal Mask Ogerpon has gotten a little bit worse post-rotation. But if Raging Bolt is still great, then Teal Mask Ogerpon should be great. Yeah, I know there are other partners for it nowadays, but it's still great with Teal Mask Ogerpon, let's be clear. This one being so high is bizarre. But we can have a look at some smaller ones. You know, they're like the top 4, and there is a little bit of a gap after them. But how about Palafin? Do you want to have a quick look at Palafin? Yeah, Palafin's crushing. Palafin's gone up to like $105. And look, I love this Palafin, and I love the artwork and all of that, but we all know Palafin isn't actually playable. Not in any real way. And yeah, like I cast a lot of events, I look at a lot of results, etc. And I'm always checking in on Palafin, and every so often somebody's coming in with a Palafin deck which is having a decent run, but let's not pretend it's actually great. And yeah, Tetsuya Ohara has gone and done the artwork, and it's beautiful. It's, you know, it's a classic Japanese artist, but it's still not enough to explain this. You know, have a look at the Blood Moon Ursa Luna. That went down to like 70, but it's gone back up to 110 now. And this isn't the only one that's doing it. This is just one example. Some of them are just going up. Some of them have gone down and are now kind of recovering up from there. The only real thing we can rely on is that one way or another, they are going up. Except for the Ogerpon. And seriously, let me know in the comment section if you've got an explanation. This whole Ogerpon doing this is utterly, utterly bizarre to me. Now, some of them we can look at them and go, look at Golden Go. It's going up like all the rest, but actually, Golden Go has become a very good deck lately. It's really seen a jump in competitive play. And as far as I'm concerned, this is just one of the absolute best artworks in the entire set. Maybe we can believe in that. But then we have a look at, say, Iron Hands, which has always been great. And this one jumped down on release. Went down pretty significantly. And has since gone up higher than it was initially. And that's what's so bizarre about these cards here. Because we can't do what we can often do and just look at this and go, well, all the playable ones are jumping. Okay, that makes sense. That's not what's happening. Some of them, you know, Golden Go's playable and keeps going up, but Iron Hands is playable and is going up and down. Take Petulant, for example. Like, I'm not thinking this is the best artwork in the set, although Asari is generally pretty awesome. And it's a card that comes in here or there as a one-off in a bunch of decks. But again, this isn't some kind of like uber playable card that everybody's putting into every deck and all of that. It's just not. But yet, since the release, we saw a tiny little dip. And then it's just jumping up from there. And it's actually gone up pretty gosh darn high. We could have a look at Terrapagos. Now, Terrapagos is basically the closest we've got, outside of Ogerpon, to a card that just dropped. And didn't recover, just dropped. Now, to be clear, it has recovered, but this recovered part of the way, not all of the way, and then just kind of leveled off. So this is about the best we can say in terms of having one of these cards that just kind of went down and didn't really recover. Because again, if we stay away, we're not counting the Ogerpon right now, but like some of the lowest ones here include Iron Valiant. Gone down. Now this one, like Terrapagos, hasn't reached its previous peak, but it's still very clearly still going up. Even on the lower end, like, we're talking about a lower end special illustration rare here from the set. And it's sitting at $70, and it's still creeping up. Take a look at Iron Crown, very similar kind of thing. We see this on some of the lower end cards here, where they've gone down and they're recovering, but they're not recovering quite as fast as we might have liked. Or, I suppose it depends where you are. And then, Sandy Shocks. Finish with Sandy Shocks. Sandy Shocks, this should be, in any other set, Sandy Shocks is a throwaway special illustration rare. It's not that we don't love it, and it's not that Kiyama's not done a great job of the art. They've crushed it, but it's a card that doesn't see a huge amount of play. It's the lowest of the special illustration rares. This should be like a $15, $20 card. It's $45. The only ones that are actually dropping and not holding much value are the Ogerpon. And I know there are some of you sitting there watching this and you're going, Wassy, come on. You know the deal with this set. You know that this set is just selling out everywhere. You know that finding this set for retail is borderline impossible for a lot of people in a lot of areas. So there's your explanation as to why these cards are all going up in value. And I would go, okay, now explain Ogerpon, because that explanation doesn't tell us why Ogerpon is jumping up like it is. Yeah, sure, all the other cards are jumping up, and obviously the scarcity of the set is part of the story here. It would be silly to suggest otherwise. But let's not pretend that every single card has jumped up. They haven't. Ogerpon hasn't, and I don't know why. Especially because they're playable, at least 3 of the 4. And the only explanation I can think of is people have gone, nah, I'm alright. It's a set of 4. Not a huge fan of the artwork. We had a set of 4 over in Twilight Masquerade, although there's plenty of these here that previously had a special illustration rare that are still jumping up. So don't think that's a perfect explanation either. And you know what? We'll just stick with them. I don't think it's a great explanation. I do think it might be the best one we have. For now, I need to remind you guys about several things. We know that there are more products coming. The Super Premium Collection was revealed the other day, and we know that that one is going to be a pretty big deal. And of course, we know that reprints are coming. That's been confirmed as well. So yes, generally speaking, they are all jumping up. That is absolutely happening. But then also by the same token, we know this isn't going to last. And I do think for most of these, it is just a case of, hold on, things will get better. But seriously, what's going on with Ogerpon? Okay, I think I've made my point now. So now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about all of this in the comment section. Tell me which you've picked up. Tell me which are on your list. Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. And get shoutouts on the channel like the lovely Kanto Royalty, who's been a supporter of ours for a while now and is a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.